When Eric Huckey called me in July to inform me about this award, I went to the website to view the list of past honorees. I noticed I'd been arrested with at least 10 of the previous honorees. My friend Mark Davidoff had 11 more years of resistance after receiving his award. John and Marie Braun keep going, kind of like Energizer bunnies for peacemaking. I see Ralph Hildenberg on the Lake Street Bridge almost every week. I was just on trial this past May with 3 of the 4 McDonald sisters. Jack Nelson Pallmeyer has poured his energies into the Minnesota Arms Spending Alternatives Project and another book since he and Sarah were recognized a couple years ago. So when the honorary award is for lifetime achievement, it's really merely an encouragement to keep on rather than to rest on one's laurels. Have you ever known Polly Mann to give any indication that she's retiring from peacemaking and her passion for social justice? Ken Masters has slowed down, but he and Carol continue in the work of reminding us to keep agitating for justice. Vince Hawkinson. I never met him personally, but I did hear him speak a few times after moving to Minnesota in 1990. It's clear to me that his deep personal faith inspired and fed his resistance to war. I too find my personal faith, coupled with its public expression in a faith community, has been my primary inspiration for my work in peacemaking. The biblical call to be reconciled to God and to one another is central to my understanding of peacemaking. However, day-to-day ministries of reconciliation are often ignored in favor of dramatic arrests. We need to end a hierarchy of peacemaking or spirituality and instead celebrate all the diverse gifts given to the body. This Hawkinson Award has recognized many various facets of peacemaking, not just practitioners of direct action and nonviolent civil resistance. For that, I'm grateful that the Foundation has an expansive view of the ministry of peacemaking. In this journey, I found that humor is essential. Unless one can laugh at oneself or the seemingly impossible forces that we're up against, we can too easily succumb to despair. And without the accountability and feedback, we will fall victim to our own blind spots. That is why peacemakers who are in it for the long haul need community. While there are some lone rangers, most peacemakers are supported, nurtured, encouraged, and corrected by fellow disciples on the way. There are teachers who give the ideas and explain the context. Some preach sermons or give powerful, moving speeches. Others are storytellers. Many write books or essays to deepen our understanding or to give us a new perspective. Some give us inspiration, especially for me, is the power of song or a piece of art, which gets past the defensive walls that surround my heart at times. For me, listening to the sermons of Martin King and Clarence Jordan, founder of Koinonia Farm, have inspired me. Books by John Howard Yoder, William Stringfellow, Walter Wink, Chet Myers have enlightened the way. The music shared with us by my friends at Bread for the Journey have given me songs to while away the hours in jail. The music from the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, recorded as Freedom is Coming, reverberates in my thoughts 30 years after I first learned them from Henry Nouwen and Jim Wallace during a sit-in at the Rotunda of the U.S. Capitol in 1983, especially the lyrics of one of their songs, "It doesn't matter if you should jail us, we are freed and kept alive by hope." And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the insight and passion of one of my fellow Hawkinson Award recipients in this category, Jack Nelson Pallmeyer. On the journey as a peacemaker, there's also been plenty of mentors who model the practice. Since moving to Minnesota in 1990, I've been blessed by learning from the McDonald sisters, from Char Madigan, from Marv Davidoff, and many, many others. Minnesota has been an oasis of peace mentors after living in Southwest Georgia for 16 years. In Georgia, it seemed we knew most of the peace activists from all over the state as we traveled to support each other at the various corners of that state. But I'm also grateful for a multitude of mentors before moving to Minnesota. One of my first mentors, as Dan mentioned, was a dairy farmer, Walton Hackman, who lived across the road from the house where I was raised and returned to the farm after his younger brother died of a heart attack. LaDon Sheets, a former IBM executive who radically changed his life and was mentored himself by Clarence Jordan. Two priests, Larry Roseball and Roy Bourgeois, inspired me, and in fact, most of my mentors were people I've been arrested with, including Dan and Phil Berrigan and Liz McAllister. Now I find some of my mentors are younger than me, Kathy Kelly, Dr. Hakim in Afghanistan, and Ched Myers readily come to mind. And I'm encouraged and inspired by the youth and vigor of the Occupy movement. One of the great pleasures of this journey has been co-conspirators, conspire, to breathe with, people who accompany one on the journey. Our Alliant Action Vigil group would be a great example of co-conspirators. Sometimes in the 1980s, I'd vigil by candlelight outside the gates of Fort Benning, or with a model of an electric chair outside the Sumter County Courthouse in Georgia with only a handful of folk. Other times, I'm astonished to be one of more than 6,000 people risking arrest by crossing the line 15 years later at that same School of America's witness. I always need to remember that many times there are folks back home in my neighborhood, my faith community, and my many friends scattered across the countryside and now around the world who are with me in thoughts, spirit, and prayer as I undertake some of the riskier acts of nonviolent witness. Many of these co-conspirators have never risked arrest themselves, but write and visit you in prison and share the message of peace and justice with their co-workers. I remember how moved I was when the entire group of resident partners from Koinonia community canceled their weekly meeting in order to drive 25 miles to sing outside the jail where I was fasting and being held for trial after blocking the white train carrying nuclear warheads to a submarine base off the Georgia coast in 1985. When the community of St. Martin takes its vow of nonviolence together each year on the second Sunday in November, I'm reminded of others on this journey with me. The powerful women of Wham, and they let some of us men join them as well. And Veterans for Peace, who've also welcomed as associate members those of us who have served our nation and fellow humans without weapons. My compatriots in the Pax Christi movement, Catholics who've welcomed this Anabaptist into their midst. And now the Muslim Peacemaker team, partnering with our Iraqi and American reconciliation projects, continue to broaden that circle. And of course, there are examples and role models of others from afar. For example, Jim and Shelley Douglas and the white train resistance community they founded at Ground Zero in Washington State helped inspire our own white train witness in Georgia. All of us in the movement of nonviolent resistance owe a debt of gratitude to Gandhi, to Martin King, to Sojourner Truth and Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Chavez and Dorothy Day, and many, many others. But we cannot forget the alternatives creators, those who help envision what we want, not just opposing what we don't. Back in the 70s, Dan Berrigan penned a powerful poem, No and Yes and the Whole Damn Thing, describing the dual call to both nonviolent resistance and the building of alternatives, something we can say yes to. When Dan's brother Phil came to Koinonia in 1974 with his call to prophetic criticism of U.S. militarism, some of the Koinonia members pushed back, stating that creating educational alternatives for preschoolers was equally important if one wished to live in a just and peaceful society. So to name a few of the alternatives close to my heart, Common Harvest Farm, Seward Longfellow Restorative Justice Program, From Death to Life, Loaves and Fishes, St. Stephen's Housing and Street Outreach Ministry, Southside Family Nurturing Center, Centro Campesino, IARP, and the list could go on and on. I confess that I have a lot of fear and trepidation before many public actions, but my faith in the companionship of like-minded folk can help overcome the fear and allow one to act. So I want to acknowledge some of that companionship today in receiving this award as a community effort, rather than as an individualistic accomplishment. For me today, Christine, and my sons Micah and Zach, thank you for sharing this journey with me. Micah and Zach, both of you going to death row with Christine and me to visit Bob Red. Micah for standing outside of me as the smoke bomb hit my feet outside of Fort Benning when you were only 4 or 5. And then traveling with me to El Salvador in 2005 to learn more about the witness of Oscar Romero. Zach for walking with me up to the fence before I crossed the School of the Americas vigil, and then visiting me when I was taken to the hospital from prison. Christine, as I now head off to Iraq again, and the many adventures we shared together, thank you for your love and support for these past 34 years. And especially thanks to those of you who supported her when I was locked up. But I also have an extended family of fictive kinship. Peter Thompson, who accompanied me to Iraq in December 2002, just months before the war started. David Harris, who was my support person at the School of the Americas protest and again at the Republican National Convention. He even joined me at the Hennepin County Workhouse Jail this spring, choosing imprisonment over community service to be in solidarity with me. The community of St. Martin is part of my family. I have a Pax Christi family, and I could go on and on. For me, my 16 years living in intentional Christian community in South Georgia was probably the most significant aspect of my spiritual formation as a peacemaker. Today, I continue to be connected with many lifelong friends I shared life with at Koinonia during those years. Did not Jesus promise us that if we left our old securities to follow him, we will be blessed with homes and families and friends 100 times over? I have found this to be true, and I'm grateful. Peacemaking must always be combined with social justice. For example, LGBT issues, the rights of immigrants and refugees, the needs and care for the homeless, for those in prisons, especially those facing the death penalty, and care and advocacy for the natural environment is especially pressing for both peace and justice. So when I'm arrested at the White House protesting the Keystone XL pipeline, it's connected with peacemaking. When I stand with my gay brothers and lesbian sisters demanding their rights to love and marry, it's connected to peacemaking. When I march with custodial workers of the CTUL union in front of Kmart or Cup Foods, it's connected to peacemaking. When I attend the March Memorial remembering the homeless who died in our state each December, it's connected with peacemaking. On the first Sunday of each month, when I'm part of the Interfaith Coalition on Immigration's prayer vigil in front of the Ramsey County Detention Center, it is for me an act of peacemaking. So I accept this award on behalf of a broad community of peacemakers, those here in the Twin Cities today, as well as my friends and mentors who are part of that great cloud of witnesses whose lives and message have helped blaze the path which I've tried to follow. Thank you.